I was standing in the frozen foods aisle of Costco when my marriage ended. Not dramatically, no screaming, no confrontation, just a simple buzz from my phone and a screenshot that turned my entire world inside out. The message was from Tyler, my wife's younger brother. We'd always gotten along well enough, though he kept his distance from family drama. That's why when I saw his name pop up on my screen at 2:53 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon, I felt a strange prickle of unease. "Dude, I'm sorry. You need to see this." Below it was a screenshot of an Instagram story. My wife Jessica's best friend Amber had posted it. One of those temporary stories that disappears after 24 hours. The image showed Jessica and some guy I'd never seen before at what looked like a high-end restaurant. They were leaning close together, his hand on her thigh under the table, her lips near his ear. The caption read, "When Bae finally takes you somewhere nice, my cart, half filled with bulk paper towels and the industrial-sized peanut butter my kids loved, suddenly felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. I stared at that photo for what felt like an eternity but was probably only 30 seconds. Jessica was wearing the black dress she'd told me she was saving for our anniversary dinner next month. Her hair was done in that elaborate way that took her 2 hours and cost $150 at the salon. She'd gotten her hair done yesterday, Tuesday. She'd told me she had a work dinner with clients. My hands started shaking. I called Tyler immediately. He picked up on the first ring. "I'm sorry, man," he said before I could speak. "I debated whether to tell you, but if it were me, I'd want to know." "Who is he?" My voice sounded strange, distant. "No idea, but there's more." He paused. "Amber's been posting stuff like this for weeks. I only noticed because Instagram's algorithm started showing me her stories. I guess I'd watched a few by accident and... Look, there are others. I can send you screenshots if you need them." "Send them." My phone buzzed repeatedly over the next minute. 6 more screenshots materialized. Different restaurants, different dates. Always the same guy, tall, athletic build, dark hair styled with that deliberately messy look that probably required expensive product. In one photo, they were at the beach. In another, some kind of concert. The timestamps told the story. This had been going on for at least 2 months. I abandoned my cart right there in the aisle and walked out to my truck. The Arizona sun hit me like a physical force, but I barely felt it. I sat in the driver's seat, air conditioning blasting, and went through the photos again. We'd been married for 11 years. We had 2 kids, Emma, 9, and Jackson, 7. We had a 4-bedroom house in a good school district in Scottsdale. I ran a successful commercial HVAC business that I'd built from nothing. Jessica was a marketing director at a tech startup. We weren't perfect, but I thought we were solid. I thought we were happy. Apparently, I thought wrong. I needed to think. I needed to plan. Most importantly, I needed to not do anything stupid. Instead of going home, I drove to my business partner's house. Derek had been my best friend since high school, and if anyone could talk me down from the ledge, it was him. He took one look at my face when he opened the door and said, "What happened?" I showed him the photos. "Holy hell," he breathed. "Are you sure it's what it looks like?" "What else could it be?" Derek ran a hand through his thinning hair. Okay, first things first. Don't confront her yet. You need to get your ducks in a row." "My ducks in a row?" "Derek, my wife is screwing some other guy." "I know. And that's exactly why you need to be smart about this." He pulled me inside and sat me down at his kitchen table. His wife Rachel appeared with a glass of water I didn't remember asking for. "Listen to me. You go home right now, emotional and angry. You're going to say things that'll hurt your case later. Arizona is a no-fault divorce state, but judges still consider conduct when it comes to asset division and custody. I'm not losing my kids. Then you need to document everything. Get a lawyer, a good one, and you need to figure out exactly what's been going on before you make any moves. Rachel sat down across from me. Do you have access to your financial accounts, credit cards, bank statements? Yeah, we have joint accounts for most things. Why? Because if she's been having an affair, there's probably a money trail. Hotel rooms, restaurants, gifts. You need to download all those statements before she knows you know. The practical advice was helping me focus, pulling me back from the edge of panic. Okay, what else? Derek leaned forward. You said Tyler sent you these. Does Jessica know he told you? I don't think so. He seemed pretty careful about it. Good, keep it that way. You want the element of surprise on your side. I looked at my phone. It was 3:15 p.m. Jessica would be getting off work around 6. The kids got out of their after-school program at 5:30, which meant I usually picked them up. Everything was normal. Everything was routine, except nothing would ever be normal again. I need a lawyer, I said. Derek nodded. I know a guy, divorce attorney, handles a lot of high-asset cases. He's ruthless but fair. Want me to call him? Yeah. As Derek stepped away to make the call, Rachel reached across the table and squeezed my hand. I'm sorry this is happening to you, but you're going to get through it. I sat in my truck outside Derek's house for another 10 minutes, watching the clock tick toward 5:30. The air conditioning blasted cold enough to make my fingers numb, but I couldn't bring myself to turn it down. I needed something physical to focus on besides the screenshots still burning a hole in my phone. At 5:25, I pulled out of Derek's driveway and headed toward Emma's school. Tuesday meant she had art club until 5, and Jackson had soccer practice that ended at the same time across town. Jessica usually picked up Jackson while I got Emma, a routine we'd perfected over the last 3 years. Today would be no different. Today had to be no different. I pulled into the parking lot of Mountain View Elementary just as parents started clustering near the art room entrance. I recognized most of them, other business owners, teachers, stay-at-home moms I'd chatted with at countless school events. Normal people living normal lives, probably not discovering their marriages were built on lies while standing next to bulk frozen pizzas. Emma burst through the door at 5:32, her backpack bouncing against her shoulders, a papier-mâché something clutched in both hands. Paint streaked across her left cheek. Dad, look what I made! She held up what might have been a turtle, or possibly a rock. Mrs. Patterson said mine was really creative. It's great, sweetheart. I took it carefully, the newspaper still slightly damp under the paint. What is it? It's a sea turtle, see? These are the flippers. She pointed at 4 lumpy protrusions. Of course, I see it now. Very cool. I opened the back door and she climbed in, still chattering about her project and how Tommy Brennan's turtle fell apart because he used too much glue. I buckled her in, placed the turtle gently on the floor, and slid back into the driver's seat. My hands only shook a little. Is Mom getting Jackson? Emma asked as I pulled out of the parking lot. Yeah, she should be there now. Can we get McDonald's? Not tonight. Mom's making dinner. Was she? I had no idea what Jessica had planned for tonight. I had no idea about anything anymore. We drove home in a relative silence, Emma humming something from her music class while I navigated the familiar streets on autopilot. Our house came into view at 5:47, a 4-bedroom ranch style with desert landscaping and a 2-car garage. Jessica's white Lexus wasn't in the driveway yet. I helped Emma out and unlocked the front door. The house smelled like the vanilla candles Jessica kept on the mantle. Everything looked exactly as I'd left it this morning. Coffee mug still in the sink, Jackson's homework folder on the counter, the thermostat set to 72 degrees. I'm going to play in my room, Emma announced, already heading down the hallway. Homework first, I called after her. I don't have any. Then reading. Her door closed with a decisive thump. I stood in the kitchen, phone heavy in my pocket. Derek's words echoed in my head. Document everything. Don't tip your hand. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. Our joint checking account showed the usual activity: grocery stores, gas stations, Amazon purchases. I scrolled back 2 months, looking for anything unusual. There, the Gladstone Hotel. 34780 town on a Friday afternoon 6 weeks ago. I'd been in Phoenix that day, meeting with a commercial client about a new HVAC system for their office building. Jessica said she was working late. I took a screenshot. 3 more hotel charges over the past 2 months, all on days I'd been out of town or working late jobs. I documented each one. Then I found the restaurants, places we'd never been together. Antonio's, the same place from Amber's Instagram story. 286.43. The Roasted Fig. 198.67. Dominion Wine Bar. 412.89. My wife had spent over $1,500 on dates with another man in the past 8 weeks. Money from our joint account. Money I'd earned installing air conditioning systems in 100-degree heat. I heard the garage door opener engage at 6:03. Jessica's Lexus pulled in smoothly, and I closed my banking app, slipping my phone back into my pocket. I turned to the refrigerator and pulled out ground beef, trying to look like I'd just started thinking about dinner. The door from the garage opened and Jackson bounded in, grass-stained and sweaty, soccer ball tucked under his arm. "Dad, I scored 2 goals at practice." "That's awesome, buddy. Go wash up for dinner." Jessica followed him inside, her work bag slung over her shoulder, phone in her other hand. She looked tired, or maybe that's just what I was choosing to see now. Her hair was pulled back in a ponytail, her makeup minimal. She wore gray slacks and a blue blouse I'd seen 100 times. "Hey," she said, setting her bag on the counter. "Sorry we're a few minutes late. Coach ran over." "No problem, I just got home with Emma." She moved past me to the refrigerator, pulling out a bottle of water. I could smell her perfume, the same one she'd worn for years. Everything about this moment was achingly normal. "I was thinking tacos," she said, gesturing at the ground beef in my hands. "Yeah, that works." She started pulling out the taco shells, shredded cheese, lettuce. We moved around the kitchen in our usual dance, a choreography perfected over 11 years. She diced tomatoes while I browned the meat. She set the table while I warmed the shells. "How was your day?" she asked. The question hung in the air between us. How was my day? Well, I found out my wife has been sleeping with someone else for at least 2 months. I abandoned a cart full of groceries in Costco. I sat in my business partner's kitchen learning about divorce attorneys and asset protection. Fine. Finish the installation at the Davis account. I caught myself. Davis. Derek had told me not to use certain names, but this was a real client. It didn't matter. You? Long. We had a meeting about the Q4 marketing push that went way over. She took a sip of water. I'm exhausted. I wondered if she was actually exhausted from work, or from maintaining 2 separate lives. Jackson thundered back into the kitchen, Emma trailing behind him. They argued about who got to sit in which chair, a debate that happened at least 3 times a week. Jessica settled it with the same solution she always used. They'd switch tomorrow. We sat down to dinner at 6:35. Jackson talked about soccer. Emma showed Jessica her sea turtle, which Jessica praised with what seemed like genuine enthusiasm. I ate my tacos and made the appropriate responses, laughing when I was supposed to laugh, asking follow-up questions about Emma's art project and Jackson's goals. Jessica's phone buzzed twice during dinner. She glanced at it both times but didn't pick it up. After dinner, I cleaned up while Jessica supervised homework, Emma's reading, Jackson's math worksheet. The sounds of our normal evening routine filled the house. At 7:30, the kids had their baths. At 8, we read bedtime stories. At 8:30, lights out. Jessica and I reconvened in the living room at 8:45. She curled up on one end of the couch with her laptop, probably catching up on work emails. I sat on the other end with my phone, pretending to scroll through news articles while actually reviewing the screenshots Tyler had sent. 6 different Instagram stories. 6 different dates. Jessica laughing, Jessica touching his arm, Jessica looking at him the way she used to look at me. "I'm going to take a shower," Jessica announced at 9:15, closing her laptop. "Okay." I waited until I heard the bathroom door close and the water start running. Then I moved quickly to her work bag, still sitting on the kitchen counter where she'd left it. My heart hammered against my ribs as I unzipped it. Her work laptop, a folder of printed reports, her planner. I opened the planner carefully, flipping through the pages. Most entries were mundane: meeting times, project deadlines, reminders to pick up dry cleaning. Then I found them. Small notations in the margins, always on Fridays. D, 7 p.m. D, drinks after. D, dinner. D. The affair partner had a name that started with D. The shower was still running. I took photos of the planner pages with my phone, being careful to avoid any glare or shadows. Then I put everything back exactly as I'd found it and returned to the couch. Jessica emerged from the shower at 9:40, her hair wrapped in a towel, wearing her usual pajamas, an old college t-shirt and cotton shorts. "I'm beat," she said. "I'm going to bed early." "I'll be there in a bit. Want to finish this article?" She leaned down and kissed my forehead. "Don't stay up too late." I watched her walk down the hallway to our bedroom. The door clicked shut behind her. I sat alone in the living room, phone in my hands, evidence mounting. Tomorrow I'd call the attorney Derek had recommended. Tomorrow I'd start the process of dismantling the life we'd built together. But tonight, I had one more thing to do. I opened a new text to Tyler. "Does the name start with D?" His response came back in less than a minute. "David Kramer, works at her company, VP of Sales." There it was, a name, a face to attach to the screenshots and the hotel charges and the D entries in Jessica's planner. I saved the text and added it to my growing folder of evidence. Then I turned off the living room lights and headed to bed, where my wife was probably already asleep, dreaming of whatever future she thought she was building with David Kramer. She had no idea what was coming. The neighbor's kid was maybe 5, standing in my driveway with a melting popsicle dripping orange onto his sneakers. I'd just pulled in from work, still sitting in my truck with the engine running, when he wandered over. "Hi, Mr. Thompson." He waved the popsicle at me, grinning. I forced a smile and killed the engine. "Hey, buddy, that looks good." "It's orange, my favorite." He took a loud slurp. "Your uncle comes to your house when your dad is at work. He drives a red car." My hand froze on the door handle. "What?" "Your uncle." The kid licked melted popsicle off his wrist. "The one with the red car. He comes when you're not home." I stepped out of the truck slowly, my pulse suddenly loud in my ears. "Buddy, I don't have an uncle with a red car." The kid shrugged, unconcerned. "Oh, well, somebody comes. My mom says I'm not supposed to watch people's houses, but I see him sometimes when I'm playing." "When does he come?" "I don't know. Different times. Sometimes in the afternoon." He squinted up at me. "Are you okay? You look funny." "I'm fine." My voice sounded distant. "Does your mom know about the red car?" "I told her once, but she said I shouldn't pay attention to other people's business." He finished the popsicle and examined the stick. "I gotta go. Bye, Mr. Thompson." He ran off across the lawn, leaving me standing in the driveway with my keys still in my hand. A red car. David Kramer drove a red car. I'd seen it in one of the Instagram photos Tyler sent. A red BMW parked in the background of a shot taken outside some restaurant. I hadn't thought much of it at the time, too focused on Jessica's face, her smile, the way she was looking at him. But now, I walked to the front door on autopilot, my mind racing. The house was quiet when I stepped inside. Jessica's car wasn't in the garage. She'd texted earlier saying she had a late meeting. The kids were at after-school programs until 5:30. The house felt different suddenly. Violated. I stood in the entryway, looking at everything with new eyes. The living room where we watched movies on Friday nights. The kitchen where we made pancakes on Sunday mornings. The stairs leading up to our bedroom. Our bedroom. The thought hit me like a punch to the gut. Had he been here? In my house? In my bed? I pulled out my phone and called Derek. "Hey man, what's up?" "The neighbor's kid just told me a guy in a red car comes to my house when I'm at work." My voice was flat. "David Kramer drives a red BMW. Silence on the other end. Then, "Holy hell. Yeah. You think she's been bringing him to your house?" "I don't know, but I need to find out." I started up the stairs, my free hand clenched into a fist. The kid said he's seen him multiple times, different afternoons. Okay, hold on. Derek's voice shifted into problem-solving mode. "Don't do anything rash. What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking I need to check the house, see if there's any evidence." "Like what?" "I don't know yet." I reached the bedroom and stood in the doorway. Everything looked normal. Bed made, Jessica's perfume bottles lined up on the dresser, my work boots by the closet. But if he's been here, there might be something. "Be careful, man. Document everything, but don't..." "I know. Don't destroy anything. Don't confront her yet." I walked to the bed and stared at it. "I just need to know." "Want me to come over?" "No, I'm good. I'll call you later." I hung up and started searching. The bedroom first. I went through the nightstands methodically, finding nothing but the usual clutter: charging cables, hand lotion, old receipts. The dresser drawers were the same. Jessica's clothes, my clothes, everything exactly where it should be. The bathroom was next. I checked the medicine cabinet, the drawers, even the trash can. Nothing unusual, no extra toothbrush, no men's products that weren't mine. I was starting to think maybe the kid was wrong. Maybe it was someone else's house he'd seen, when I noticed the hamper. It was one of those fancy wicker things Jessica had bought from some home goods store, tucked in the corner of the bathroom. I never paid much attention to it. Jessica did most of the laundry anyway, usually on weekends. I lifted the lid. On top of the pile of dirty clothes was a white dress shirt. Men's, size large. Expensive-looking fabric. Not mine. I pulled it out carefully, my hands steady despite the rage building in my chest. The shirt still had the faint smell of cologne. Something woody and sharp. Nothing like what I wore. There was a small stain on the collar. Lipstick, maybe. Dark red. I held the shirt for a long moment, staring at it. Then I laid it on the bathroom counter and took several photos with my phone, making sure to capture the size tag, the brand label, everything. The rest of the hamper yielded nothing else suspicious, but that shirt was enough. He'd been here, in my house. Close enough to Jessica that his shirt ended up in our laundry. I put the shirt back exactly where I'd found it and moved to the guest bedroom. It looked undisturbed. The bed made with the decorative pillows Jessica insisted on. The closet full of seasonal decorations and old photo albums. But when I checked the attached bathroom, I found a hand towel hanging on the rack that looked recently used. Not damp, but not quite as crisp as the others. I photographed that too. The office was next. Jessica had a small desk in there where she sometimes worked from home. I'd avoided going through it before, some part of me still clinging to the idea of privacy, of trust. That was done now. I opened the desk drawers systematically. Bills, office supplies, old greeting cards. Then, in the bottom drawer, underneath a stack of manila folders, I found a small gift bag. Inside was a men's watch. Nice, probably a few $100s. Still in its box, unwrapped. The receipt was tucked in the bottom of the bag. Purchased 3 days ago. 425. I photographed everything. The watch, the box, the receipt. Then I put it all back exactly as I'd found it. My phone buzzed. Jessica. Meeting running long. Can you pick up the kids? I'll grab dinner on the way home. I stared at the message. Meeting. Right. Sure, no problem. I went back downstairs and checked the living room, the kitchen, anywhere else he might have left a trace. Nothing obvious. But in the kitchen trash, buried under coffee grounds and vegetable scraps, I found a takeout container from an Italian place downtown. Expensive. The kind of place Jessica and I used to go for special occasions. There were 2 sets of disposable utensils in the bag. I pulled the container out carefully, photographed it, then put it back. The doorbell rang. I froze, my heart hammering. Then I walked to the front door and looked through the peephole. The neighbor kid's mom stood on the porch, looking apologetic. I opened the door. Hi, Karen. Hi, I'm so sorry to bother you. She twisted her hands together. My son said he talked to you about someone visiting your house? Yeah, he mentioned it. She looked mortified. I've told him 1,000,000 times not to watch the neighbors, but he's 5 and he doesn't really get boundaries yet. I just wanted to apologize if he made you uncomfortable. It's fine, really. I kept my voice neutral. He's just being a kid. Well, I felt terrible. I didn't want you to think we were spying or anything. She hesitated. For what it's worth, I have noticed a red car in your driveway a few times. Usually on Thursdays, I think. I figured it was a friend or family member. Thursdays. Jessica's planner had several Thursday entries marked with D. Yeah, I managed. Thanks for letting me know. Of course. Again, I'm really sorry about this. Don't worry about it. I closed the door and leaned against it, my mind spinning. Thursdays. He came on Thursdays. Probably other days too, but Thursdays for sure. I pulled out my phone and checked the calendar. Today was Tuesday. Jessica's planner had a D 2 p.m. entry for this Thursday, 2 days from now. I stood there in my entryway, in the house I'd bought with my wife, where we'd raised our children, where I'd thought we were building a life together. And I started planning. I stood in my home office Wednesday night, staring at the evidence spread across my desk. The watch, the receipts, the calendar entries, the neighbor's confirmation, everything pointed to tomorrow, Thursday, when David Kramer would show up in his red BMW while I was supposed to be working. Except I wouldn't be working. My phone buzzed. Derek. You still planning what I think you're planning? He asked when I picked up. Yeah. You sure about this? You could just let the lawyer handle everything. You've got enough evidence to bury her in court. I picked up the watch, turned it over in my hand. I need to see it. I need to know for certain. You already know for certain. I need to see it with my own eyes. Derek was quiet for a moment. All right, but don't do anything stupid. Don't touch him. Don't threaten him. Just document and leave. You get physical, you give her ammunition. I know. I'm serious. You've been smart about this so far. Don't blow it now because you want to punch this guy in the face. I'm not going to punch him. You want to? Of course I want to. But I won't. After we hung up, I sat there until the house went quiet. Jessica was in bed. The kids were asleep. I pulled up the security camera app on my phone, the one I'd installed 2 days ago. 4 cameras, all wireless, all hidden. One covering the driveway. One in the living room, disguised as a smoke detector. One in the hallway upstairs. One in our bedroom, tucked into the bookshelf. The bedroom camera had been the hardest to set up. I'd done it Tuesday morning after Jessica left for work, my hands shaking the entire time. The thought of what I might see made me physically ill. But I needed the truth. All of it. I tested each camera feed, crystal clear, motion-activated recording, everything uploading to a cloud account Jessica didn't know existed. Thursday morning came too fast. I went through the motions. Breakfast with the kids, Emma chattering about her science project, Jackson showing me a drawing of a dinosaur, Jessica drinking her coffee, scrolling through her phone, looking perfectly normal, looking like my wife. "You'll be home around 6?" she asked as I grabbed my keys. "Should be. Got that estimate in Tempe, then some paperwork at the office." She kissed my cheek. "Drive safe." I almost laughed. Drive safe. Like she cared. Like she wasn't planning to screw another man in our bed in a few hours. I dropped the kids at school, then drove to the office. Derek was already there, leaning against his truck. "You good?" he asked. "No." "Fair enough." He handed me a coffee. "What's the plan?" "I'm going to park down the street, wait for him to show up, let them get settled. Then I'm going in. And then? Then I'm kicking him out of my house, calmly, with the cameras recording everything." Derek studied my face. "You really think you can stay calm?" "I have to. For the kids. For the divorce. I lose my temper. I lose leverage." "All right." He squeezed my shoulder. "Call me after. And remember, don't touch him. I know." I drove back toward my neighborhood around noon. Jessica's planner had said D12:30 for today. I parked 3 houses down, in front of the Miller's place. They both worked during the day. Nobody would notice my truck. 12:17 p.m. My phone showed the driveway camera feed. Empty. 12:24 p.m. Still empty. 12:31 p.m. A red BMW turned onto our street. My chest tightened. There he was. David Kramer. I'd looked him up on LinkedIn the night before. 42 years old. VP of Sales. Divorced. Smug smile in his profile picture. The BMW pulled into my driveway. Right into my spot, like he owned the place. He got out. Tall, fit, wearing expensive casual clothes. Jeans that probably cost more than my work boots. A button-down shirt with the sleeves rolled up. He walked to my front door like he'd done it 100 times. Because he probably had. The door opened before he could knock. Jessica stood there in a sundress I'd never seen before. She smiled, pulled him inside. The door closed. I sat there, hands gripping the steering wheel, breathing through my nose. The camera feeds on my phone showed them in the entryway. Jessica laughing at something he said, his hands on her waist, her arms around his neck. They kissed. Right there in my entryway, under the family photos on the wall, they kissed. I watched them move toward the stairs. Watched them disappear from the living room camera's view. Waited for them to appear on the hallway camera. There. Walking toward our bedroom, his hand on her lower back, her hand in his. They went into the bedroom. The door closed, but the camera caught everything. I forced myself to watch for 30 seconds. Just long enough to document what was happening. Then I switched off the feed. I'd seen enough. I sat in the truck for another 10 minutes, letting the cameras record. Building evidence. Making sure there was no question about what was happening in my house. Then I got out and walked to my front door. My hands were steady when I put the key in the lock. Steady when I turned it. Steady when I pushed the door open. The house was quiet except for sounds from upstairs. I stood in the entryway, looking at the spot where they'd kissed 20 minutes ago. I climbed the stairs. Each step deliberate, controlled. The bedroom door was closed. I could hear them. Hear my wife with another man in our bed. I opened the door. They didn't notice at first. Too occupied. Then Jessica's eyes opened and landed on me standing in the doorway. The scream that came out of her could have shattered glass. David scrambled off the bed, swearing, grabbing for his pants. Jessica yanked the sheet up, her face cycling through shock, terror, and something that might have been shame. "Get out," I said to David. My voice was level, calm. Get your clothes and get out of my house. Jesus, I didn't. She said. He was hopping on one foot trying to get his jeans on. I don't care what she said. Get out. Jessica found her voice. Oh my God. Oh my God. This isn't. We weren't. Don't. I held up one hand, still not raising my voice. Don't insult me more than you already have. David had his pants on now, clutching his shirt and shoes. He looked at Jessica, then at me, then back at Jessica. Go, I told him. Now, before I change my mind about staying calm. He went. Practically ran down the stairs. I heard the front door open and close. Heard the BMW start up and peel out of the driveway. Jessica sat in our bed, sheet clutched to her chest, mascara starting to run. Please, let me explain. How long? What? How long have you been screwing him in our bed? She flinched. It wasn't supposed to. How? Long. 4 months, she whispered. 4 months. Not 2. 4. Did you ever think about the kids? I asked. About what would happen if Emma or Jackson came home sick and walked in on this? They're at school. That's not the point. My voice finally rose. You brought him into our home, into our bed. 4 months, Jessica. 4 months of lying to my face every single day. She started crying. Real tears now. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It was a mistake. I'll end it. I'll never see him again. Please, we can fix this. No, I said. We can't. I turned and walked out of the room. Walked downstairs. Grabbed my laptop from the office and the folder of evidence I'd compiled. Walked out the front door. Jessica appeared at the top of the stairs, wrapped in a robe now. Where are you going? Somewhere else. I'll pick up the kids from school. They'll stay with me tonight. You can't just take them? Watch me. I got in my truck and drove away. Didn't look back at the house, at her standing in the doorway, at 11 years of marriage burning down behind me. I called Derek. It's done, I said when he answered. You okay? No, but I will be. Kids? Picking them up at 3. Can I stay at your place tonight? Already made up the guest room. Rachel's getting it ready now. I drove to a coffee shop and sat in the parking lot, pulling up the camera footage on my laptop. Everything was there. Crystal clear, time-stamped, undeniable. My phone started buzzing. Jessica calling. I declined it. She called again. Declined again. Then the texts started. Please come home. We need to talk. I made a terrible mistake. Please don't do this. Think about the kids. I blocked her number and called my attorney. I sat in my truck outside Derek's house for 20 minutes before I could make myself drive home. The camera footage was on a USB drive in my pocket. The security system was still recording. Everything was backed up to 3 different cloud services under accounts Jessica didn't know existed. My hands were steady on the wheel. That surprised me. The kids were at my parents' place in Tempe. I'd called my mom that morning before I knew what I'd find and asked if she could pick them up from school. Told her Jessica and I needed to have an important conversation. Mom didn't ask questions. She just said she'd make spaghetti for dinner and the kids could sleep over. I'd known, somehow. Known what I'd find when I came home early. The house was dark when I pulled into the driveway. Jessica's Lexus was gone. David's red BMW was long gone. I sat there for a moment, engine running, looking at the place we'd bought 6 years ago. 4 bedrooms, good school district, quarter-acre lot. The American dream. I turned off the engine. Inside, the house smelled like Jessica's perfume and something else. Him. I stood in the entryway and felt absolutely nothing. The bedroom looked normal. She'd stripped the bed, I noticed. The comforter was in the washing machine when I checked. Already running. She'd been busy in the 2 hours since I'd left. I went to my office and pulled up the camera feeds on my laptop. Watched her come downstairs 15 minutes after I'd driven away. Watched her call someone. David, probably. Watched her pace the kitchen, crying. Watched her go back upstairs and start cleaning. The footage was crystal clear. High definition, time-stamped, backed up. My phone buzzed. Jessica. We need to talk. I stared at the message for a long moment. Then I typed back, talk to my lawyer, Robert Brennan at Brennan & Associates. I'll have him contact you tomorrow. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Please, I'm so sorry. It was a mistake. We can fix this. I didn't respond. Another message. Where are the kids? Somewhere safe. That's not an answer. I'm their mother. And I'm their father. They're with my parents. You'll see them when the custody arrangement is worked out. My phone started ringing. Jessica's face filled the screen. A photo from last summer, her smiling at the beach in California. I declined the call. She called again. I declined again. A text. You can't keep my children from me. I typed carefully. I'm not keeping them from you. They're having dinner with their grandparents. You're welcome to call them there. But you and I are done talking except through lawyers. I blocked her number. The house was too quiet. I walked through it room by room, cataloging everything. The cameras had been a good investment. 48 hours of footage showing exactly what happened when I wasn't home. Jessica letting David in through the garage. The 2 of them in the kitchen, on the couch, going upstairs. I'd seen enough, more than enough. In the master bathroom, I found the shirt I'd discovered Tuesday night. She'd hidden it in the back of her closet, behind the winter coats we never needed in Arizona. David's shirt, expensive fabric, custom tailored, monogrammed cuffs, DK. I left it where it was. Evidence. The watch was still in her nightstand drawer. Tag Heuer, men's style, worth maybe $5,000. I took photos, documented the serial number, left it there too. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. This is Jessica. I'm calling from my office. You blocked me. I told you to contact my lawyer. I'm not going to let you take my kids. Our kids. And I'm not taking them anywhere. I'm protecting them from having to watch their mother's life fall apart. You self-righteous piece of... I hung up. Blocked that number too. 30 seconds later, another unknown number. I didn't answer. A voicemail appeared. I didn't listen to it. I sat down at the kitchen table and opened my laptop. Robert Brennan had already emailed me. Subject line, initial consultation follow-up. The email was thorough. He'd outlined the next steps. Filing for dissolution of marriage, temporary custody orders, restraining order if needed, forensic accounting of all joint assets, subpoena of Jessica's work records and communications. Arizona was a no-fault divorce state, but adultery still mattered for custody and asset division, especially when marital funds had been used to support the affair, especially when there was documentation. I had documentation. Robert wanted to meet tomorrow morning, Friday, at 8. He'd draft the initial filing over the weekend. We could serve Jessica by Monday. I typed back, I'll be there. Another email came through. Derek. Rachel says you should stay here tonight. Guest room's ready. Come over whenever. I sat there for a minute, thinking. Then I started packing a bag. Clothes for tomorrow, toiletries, my laptop, the USB drives with all the evidence. I went through the house one more time, checking that all the cameras were recording, that everything was backed up. In Emma's room, I stood looking at her bookshelf. Harry Potter, Percy Jackson, a dozen others. She was reading above grade level. Smart kid. Jackson's room was organized chaos. Legos everywhere, a half-built spaceship on his desk. He wanted to be an astronaut. They didn't deserve this. didn't deserve to have their family torn apart because their mother couldn't keep her vows. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. "This is David Kramer. I think we should talk, man to man." I stared at it. Read it 3 times. Then I typed, "You were screwing my wife in my bed. There's nothing to talk about. Stay away from my family or I'll make sure everyone at your company knows exactly what kind of man you are. Send." Another buzz. "It's not like that. Jessica and we didn't mean for this to happen. I don't care what you meant. It happened. Now deal with the consequences." I blocked the number. How many numbers was I going to have to block tonight? I finished packing and carried my bag to the truck. Locked up the house, set the alarm. The cameras would keep recording. If Jessica came back tonight, I'd have footage of that too. Derek's place was 15 minutes away. Rachel met me at the door, gave me a hug that lasted longer than usual. Didn't say anything, just squeezed my shoulder and led me inside. "Kids okay?" Derek asked from the kitchen. "At my parents'. They're good. They don't know anything yet." "You tell them tomorrow?" "Maybe, I don't know. Robert's meeting me at 8 to go over everything." Rachel put a plate of food in front of me. Chicken, rice, vegetables. I hadn't eaten since breakfast. Hadn't even thought about food. "Eat," she said. "You need to keep your strength up." I picked up the fork, put it down, picked it up again. "She called me 6 times, I said. "From different numbers. David texted me too." Derek's jaw tightened. "What did he say?" "That they didn't mean for it to happen. Like that matters." "Ignore him. Ignore both of them. Everything goes through Robert now." I managed to eat half the plate. Rachel didn't push. She just cleared the dishes when I was done and brought me coffee. "Guest room's ready whenever you want it," she said. "Clean towels in the bathroom. Stay as long as you need." "Thanks." I sat there with my coffee, staring at nothing. Derek's kitchen was warm, lived in. Photos of their kids on the refrigerator, school art projects, a calendar covered in soccer practices and dentist appointments. Normal family life. I'd thought I had that too. "You did the right thing," Derek said quietly. "Walking away today instead of losing it. That takes strength." "Didn't feel strong. Doesn't matter how it felt. You kept control. You protected yourself legally. That's what counts now." My phone buzzed again. I didn't even look at it. "You should turn that off," Rachel said. "Get some sleep. Tomorrow's going to be a long day." She was right. I powered down the phone and sat there in the silence, drinking coffee I didn't taste, in a kitchen that wasn't mine, because my wife had destroyed everything we'd built. Tomorrow I'd meet with Robert. Tomorrow we'd start the legal process. Tomorrow I'd figure out how to tell Emma and Jackson that their parents were getting divorced. But tonight, I just sat there and let myself feel nothing at all. The neighbor's kid was maybe 6 years old, standing on Derek's driveway with a basketball that was too big for him. I'd stepped outside to take a call from my attorney when the boy wandered over, dribbling awkwardly. "Hi, Mr. Thompson," he said. His name was Owen. I knew his parents from the business. His dad worked in commercial refrigeration. "Hey, Owen, how's it going?" "Good." He bounced the ball twice. "When are you going back to your house?" I'd been at Derek's place for 5 days now. Word traveled fast in our circles, apparently. "Not sure yet, buddy." "Oh." He looked thoughtful in that way kids do when they're processing something. "Is it because of your uncle?" I felt something cold settle in my chest. "What uncle?" "The one who comes to your house when your dad is at work." Owen dribbled the ball again. "He drives a red car, a really nice one. My mom says it's a Mustang." The phone in my hand suddenly felt very heavy. "Owen, I don't have an uncle with a red car." "Oh." He scrunched up his face. "Maybe he's your wife's uncle." "When did you see this car?" He shrugged. "Lots of times. Usually after lunch." My mom works from home on Thursdays and Fridays, so I see it when I'm playing outside. Thursdays and Fridays. The days I was typically out on job sites all afternoon. The car would be there for a while, I asked, keeping my voice level. Yeah, sometimes until it was almost time for your kids to come home from school. He bounced the ball again. One time I saw the man. He was tall. He waved at me. David Kramer drove a red Mustang GT. I'd seen it in the company parking lot in one of the Instagram photos Tyler sent me, visible in the background of a shot Jessica had posted from a company picnic last summer. Thanks, Owen. My voice sounded distant to my own ears. You should probably head home now. It's getting close to dinner time. Okay, bye, Mr. Thompson. I watched him dribble away, then looked down at my phone. The call from Robert had gone to voicemail. I didn't listen to it. Instead, I pulled up my security camera footage and started scrolling backward through the timestamps. I'd installed the cameras after I suspected something was wrong, but I'd only reviewed the footage from the day I caught them. Now I went back further. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month. There it was. Thursday, 3 weeks ago. 1:47 p.m. A red Mustang pulling into my driveway. David Kramer getting out, looking around casually before walking to my front door. Jessica opening it, already changed from her work clothes into something else. Something I recognized, a blue sundress I'd bought her for our anniversary 2 years ago. The camera didn't capture audio, but I watched her smile at him. Watched her step aside to let him in. Watched the door close. The Mustang sat in my driveway until 3:22 p.m. I scrolled back further. Another Thursday, another Friday. Sometimes both in the same week. The pattern was consistent, methodical. He'd arrive between 1:30 and 2 p.m. He'd leave between 3 and 3:30 p.m., always before the kids got home at 3:45. They'd been using my house, my bed, while I was out working to pay for it all. The cold feeling in my chest spread outward until my fingers were numb. I sat down on Derek's front steps and kept scrolling. The footage went back 6 weeks. That's all the cloud storage held before it started overwriting. In those 6 weeks, I counted 14 visits. 14 times David Kramer had parked his red Mustang in my driveway and spent 2 hours in my house with my wife. My phone buzzed. Robert calling back. I answered. We need to talk, he said. Jessica's attorney reached out. What do they want? Reconciliation counseling. They're proposing a 60-day separation period with couples therapy before proceeding with divorce. They're also requesting you return to the marital home and that Jessica be allowed supervised visitation with the children. No. I told them that would be your answer, but I'm obligated to present all settlement offers. There's more. They're claiming the affair was a symptom of marital problems that existed before David Kramer, and they're going to argue that you were emotionally absent and focused too heavily on your business. I almost laughed. I have video of him in my house 14 times in 6 weeks. There was a pause. 14 times? I thought we only had the one incident on camera. I just counted. Neighbor kid told me about a red car showing up when I wasn't home. I checked the footage. I stood up and started pacing Derek's driveway. Thursdays and Fridays, like clockwork. He'd show up around 2, leave by 3:30, before the kids got home. Send me everything. Timestamps, all of it. Robert's voice had taken on a sharper edge. This changes the calculation significantly. This isn't just adultery. This is a sustained, premeditated pattern of deception. They brought this man into the family home repeatedly while you were working. The neighbor's kids saw him. 6-year-old Owen from down the street. His mom works from home. Don't talk to the neighbors about this, Robert said quickly. Not yet. But keep that information available. If this goes to trial, witness testimony about the affair partner's vehicle being at the marital home during work hours is extremely valuable. It's not going to trial. I want this done. I understand, but we need to be prepared for every scenario. Jessica's attorney is going to push back hard on the evidence. They'll claim the cameras were installed without her consent, that you violated her privacy. In my own house. Arizona is a one-party consent state for recording, and you're a resident of the home. The cameras are legal, but they'll still argue it. They'll argue everything. He paused. How are you holding up? I'm fine. You don't sound fine. I stopped pacing. Derek's garage door was open, and I could see him inside, working on something at his bench. Normal life, continuing. A 6-year-old kid just told me about my wife's affair partner showing up at my house twice a week. I'm not fine, but I will be. Fair enough. Listen, I'm going to draft a response to their settlement offer. We'll reject the reconciliation counseling and the separation period. We'll counter with an immediate divorce proceeding, full custody with supervised visitation for Jessica, and a complete accounting of all marital assets. Given this new evidence, I'm also going to push for her to cover your legal fees. What are the chances of that? In Arizona, with this level of documentation? Better than you'd think? Judges don't like it when one spouse uses marital funds to conduct an affair, especially when it involves bringing the affair partner into the family home. I heard papers shuffling on his end. I'll have the response ready by tomorrow. In the meantime, do not contact Jessica. Do not contact David Kramer. Do not discuss this with anyone except me, Derek, or your immediate family. And definitely don't talk to the neighbors about what they saw. Got it. One more thing. Jessica's attorney mentioned that she's claiming you threatened David Kramer when you confronted them. Did you? I thought back to that Thursday afternoon, standing in my bedroom doorway. I told him to get out of my house or I'd throw him out. Then I told him if he ever contacted my wife or came near my family again, I'd make sure everyone at their company knew exactly what kind of man he was. That's it? That's it. Good. That's not a threat. That's a statement of intent to expose truthful information. They can't do anything with that. He paused. I'll call you tomorrow after I send the response. Get some rest. The call ended. I stood in Derek's driveway as the Arizona sun started to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Beautiful evening. Perfect temperature. The kind of night when I'd normally be grilling dinner while Emma and Jackson played in the backyard. Instead, I was living in my best friend's guest room. My kids were at my parents' house, and I'd just learned that my wife had been bringing her lover to our home with the regularity of a scheduled appointment. 14 times. 14 separate occasions when she'd planned it, prepared for it, waited for me to leave for work, and then welcomed him into our bed. Derek came out of the garage, wiping his hands on a rag. You okay? Neighbor kid saw David's car at my house, multiple times. He stopped walking. Damn. Thursdays and Fridays, regular as clockwork. I showed him my phone, the security footage queued up. 14 times in 6 weeks. Derek watched the footage for a moment, then handed the phone back. You told Robert? Yeah. He's using it in the divorce response. Good. Derek crossed his arms. You eaten today? I tried to remember. Breakfast, maybe. Rachel's making lasagna. You're eating with us. It wasn't a question. I followed him inside, where the smell of cooking tomatoes and garlic filled the house. Normal domestic life. The kind I'd thought I had. The kind I was going to build again, but this time on solid ground. 3 months later, I stood in my new kitchen, a 3-bedroom rental in a good school district, close enough to Emma and Jackson's school that they could keep their friends, and watched my kids do homework at the counter. Emma was working on long division. Jackson was sounding out words for a reading assignment. The divorce had been finalized 2 weeks ago. Jessica signed the papers without contesting anything in the end. Her attorney had taken one look at the security footage, the financial records showing marital funds spent on hotel rooms and expensive dinners, the witness statements from neighbors, and the 14 documented instances of David Kramer's red Mustang in our driveway, and advised her to settle. She got supervised visitation every other weekend. I got primary custody, the business, and our retirement accounts. The house went on the market. Neither of us wanted it after everything that happened there. We'd split whatever equity remained after the sale. David Kramer was no longer VP of sales at Jessica's company. Turned out their employer had a morality clause about relationships between employees, especially when one party was married. HR had been very interested in the timeline I provided. Last I heard, he was working for a competitor in Tucson. Jessica moved to an apartment in Chandler. She'd started therapy, according to the court-mandated co-parenting app we used to communicate. I didn't ask for details. Didn't care. "Dad, I don't get this one," Emma said, pointing at her math worksheet. I walked over and looked at the problem. Helped her work through it, watching her face light up when she understood. These were the moments that mattered. Not the betrayal, not the anger, not the lawyers and court dates. Just this. Being present for my kids, helping them with homework, making sure they felt safe and loved. "Got it," Emma wrote down the answer triumphantly. "Good job, sweetheart." My phone buzzed. Tyler, Jessica's brother. We'd stayed in touch. He'd apologized a dozen times for his sister's behavior, like he was somehow responsible for her choices. "How are the kids doing?" "They're good. Adjusting." "And you?" I looked around the rental kitchen. It wasn't much: basic appliances, laminate countertops, fluorescent lighting that hummed slightly. But it was mine. Clean slate, no ghosts. Getting there. The truth was, I was better than I'd been in months. The anger had faded into something quieter. Not forgiveness, but acceptance. Jessica had made her choices. I'd made mine. We'd both have to live with the consequences. Emma and Jackson seemed okay, all things considered. They'd cried when we told them about the divorce, asked questions I'd answered as honestly as I could without destroying their image of their mother. Kids were resilient, the therapist said. They'd adapt. So would I. Derek stopped by around 7 with pizza, our Friday night tradition now. Rachel sent cookies. We ate on the couch, watching some animated movie the kids picked out, and for a little while, everything felt normal again. After the kids went to bed, Derek and I sat on the small patio, drinking beer in the cool desert night. "You did good," he said. "Getting through all this. Didn't have much choice." "You had choices. You chose to handle it smart. Protect your kids, not let it destroy you." He took a sip of his beer. "A lot of guys wouldn't have kept it together like you did." I thought about that Thursday afternoon, standing in my bedroom doorway, watching my marriage end in real time. The rage I'd felt. The urge to put my fist through David Kramer's face. I'd chosen differently. Chosen documentation over confrontation, evidence over emotion, the long game over immediate satisfaction, and it had worked. "You know what the weird part is?" I said. "I'm not even angry anymore, just tired, ready to move on." "That's healthy." "Is it?" "Yeah, anger keeps you stuck. You're already building something new." He gestured at the rental house. "This is temporary, right? You're looking at places to buy?" "Found one in Scottsdale. 3-bedroom, good yard for the kids. Should close next month if the inspection goes okay." "That's great, man. Really." We sat in comfortable silence for a while, listening to the neighborhood sounds, dogs barking, distant traffic, someone's television through an open window. "You think you'll ever trust anyone again?" Derek asked quietly. I considered it. "Maybe. Not right now. But eventually, yeah. I think so." "Good. You deserve to be happy. So do my kids. That's what matters." Derek raised his beer. "To new beginnings." I clinked my bottle against his. "To new beginnings." The moral of this story isn't complicated. Actions have consequences, and truth has a way of surfacing no matter how carefully you try to bury it. Jessica thought she could maintain 2 lives indefinitely. the devoted wife and mother at home, the passionate lover in secret. She thought the compartments would never collapse into each other. But secrets require perfect execution, and people are imperfect. A brother's conscience, a neighbor's child, a screenshot that should have disappeared after 24 hours. Small cracks that became chasms. I learned that strength isn't about the absence of pain. It's about how you respond when everything falls apart. You can let betrayal make you bitter, or you can let it make you wiser. You can destroy yourself trying to destroy the person who hurt you, or you can focus on protecting what matters most. I chose my children. I chose the future over the past. I chose to document rather than destroy, to build rather than burn. And in the end, I chose myself, the version of me that deserved honesty, loyalty, and a partner who understood that vows mean something. The house I'd shared with Jessica sold 3 months later. I signed the papers at a title company, took my half of the equity, and never looked back. That chapter was finished. Emma starts middle school next year. Jackson wants to join Little League. I'm dating someone, a teacher I met at a school fundraiser, someone who makes me laugh and doesn't play games. It's early, and I'm taking it slow, but it feels right. Life goes on. Wounds heal. And sometimes the worst thing that ever happens to you turns out to be the catalyst for building something better than you ever imagined possible. I'm not grateful for what Jessica did, but I'm grateful for who I became in response to it. A better father, a stronger man, someone who knows his worth and won't settle for less than he deserves. That's enough. That's everything.